Beauty and the Beast has become a sensation since it was released in 1991. Though it wasn't until September of 2020, a couple decades later, that a Disney theme park would receive its first ride around this iconic franchise. Enchanted Tale of Beauty and the Beast is one of the newest additions to the Tokyo Disney Resort. This trackless dark ride is a faithful retelling of the story we know and love, interspersed with beautiful animatronics, detailed show scenes, and some of the finest effects to come out of Imagineering in the last decade. The attraction has received constant praise from those who have had the opportunity to experience it. But due to the COVID-19 pandemic and Japanese border closures, many Disney fans are yet to step foot into this enchanted tale. But perhaps we can provide an alternative. So let's explore the history, secrets, story, and behind the scenes of Enchanted Tale of Beauty and the Beast. For ReviewTyme, I'm Dom. To start, we need to travel over to Disneyland Paris in the early 1990s. To do this, you just need to click the like button and leave a comment. Okay, maybe it won't take you to Paris, but it does help us a lot and lets other people see this video, so it was worth a try. There were talks about opening an audio animatronics show based around Beauty and the Beast within the European Disney theme park. The attraction would be formatted similarly to Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room, but on a much larger scale. You'd enter through a dark and foreboding area which would lead you to Beast's castle during the time of the prince's curse. Once inside the castle, you would experience a pre-show viewed through animated stained glass windows, a technology that would go on to be used at Tokyo Disney Sea's Tower of Terror. After this pre-show, guests would enter a large round room within the castle that looked onto a grand staircase, doorway, fireplace, and table. Slowly, the events of Beauty and the Beast would play out around you, with many favorite songs returning, albeit in a condensed form, ultimately leading to a similar conclusion that we see within the movie, but presented in a slightly different way. At the end, guests would be confronted by a giant animatronic recreation of the Beast, the largest that Imagineering would ever create at that time. Belle, who was played by a real person, would select a lucky child to present a rose to the Beast. This act of love would make the Beast cry a single tear and lift the curse on the castle. With flashing lights, the Beast would fall onto the ground and be replaced by a live actor portraying the prince. Unfortunately, as we all know, Disneyland Paris ran into financial difficulties around this time, which caused many expansion plans to be abandoned. But a few Beauty and the Beast attractions did appear over the next few decades. None of them, however, would match the scale of the idea dreamed up for Disneyland Paris. This was until Enchanted Tale of Beauty and the Beast came along. On October 14, 2016, the Oriental Land Company announced that they would be closing Grand Circuit Raceway, basically Autopia for Tokyo, to open a Beauty and the Beast themed area, essentially becoming their version of New Fantasyland. This expansion was set with a budget of 32 billion yen, which is around $200 million US. Construction started on April 5, 2017 and was expected to open in early 2020. Unfortunately, this was delayed due to the COVID-19 global pandemic, but the ride did open a few months later on September 28, 2020. The retelling of the story is strictly through the lens of events taking place within the castle grounds, which is why when walking up to the attraction, you're confronted by an absolutely gorgeous recreation of the Beast's castle. To enter, you pass over a fog-filled gorge across a bridge that immerses you within the area. You're surrounded by the ominous sounds of thunder, aggressive running water, owls, and wolves. In this area, there is no music until you get closer to the castle, where ominous orchestral tunes can be heard. Once inside, you're greeted by relatively ornate architecture and furnishings. Around the several rooms you'll pass through to get to the pre-show, you can spot many of the enchanted objects in the non-active state. Occasionally they'll move about, but the idea is that they're hiding from the intruders, one of which is you. After passing through these rooms, you're introduced to the Armory Hall, which is a holding area for the attraction's pre-show. The suits of armor here can be heard whispering and snoring. The music here starts to shift towards a more melancholy tone and reintroduces several iconic melodies from the original cartoon film, getting people ready to be reintroduced to the story. You're now invited into the main foyer of the castle for the pre-show. Guests enter the room where in front of them lies a grand staircase and a large stained glass window, very similar to the idea that was going to be in Disneyland Paris. Once everybody is inside, the lights begin to dim. The stained glass image comes alive. It tells the story of the castle's enchantment. It introduces the rose, the powerful enchantress, the beast's curse, and how everybody else was dragged into it. Then, off to the right, we see the rose in person as a petal falls. Emerging from the shadows near the rose, we see the beast in person for the first time as a gigantic animatronic figure. He leans towards the rose, but across the room, Belle enters the castle holding a lantern. She sees the beast in the shadow and asks him to come into the light. When doing so, she runs off frightened. This upsets the beast, and with a final roar, he exits the room as the doors open for the guests to enter the loading area. The loading area after the pre-show takes you through the areas that would have commonly been used by the servants, such as the kitchen and pantry. As guests pass through a hallway, Lumiere and Cogsworth can be spotted reacting to the shadows of the beast's outburst towards Belle when she refuses to come to dinner. The attraction at this point is taking liberties with the story, but it's rushed through a couple of things so that we can really gear up towards the opening number of the song, which, spoiler alert, is Be Our Guest. After weaving through the various areas of the kitchen and pantry, guests then board giant empty teacups or dinner plates, I'm not really quite sure which one it is, depending on how you look at them, where their adventure through the castle really begins to come alive. You enter into 6 ride vehicles that explore the attraction together as a group, larger than the usual groups in trackless dark rides that we've seen in attractions such as Mystic Manor and Rise of the Resistance. The trackless vehicle moves guests into a room where Belle awaits her dinner, and without missing an opportunity, Lumiere introduces the experience and launches straight into the ride's rendition of Be Our Guest, presented entirely in Japanese. The vehicles cleverly weave through the room and pull focus to different areas as the main dining table slowly adds more and more exciting elements. This attraction really shows off the strengths of the trackless ride vehicle. It allows the vehicle to act as a sort of camera, where the guest still gets to choose their point of view, but it can pull focus and allow the story to move dynamically around you instead of just feeling like you're going through a linear journey that you're just kind of in on, you're not actually a part of it. This really brings guests right into the experience. After an exciting climax, Lumiere then farewells us to the outdoors, where we experience the snow-covered gardens outside of the castle for the song Something There, where we spot animatronic versions of Belle, Philippe, and the Beast. We dance around this space with the other trackless vehicles for a short musical number where both the Belle and Beast sing again in Japanese. This isn't a particularly exciting segment, as you simply just move around the room as the song happens, but the animatronics are very impressive. Whilst not much is happening, the scene is still necessary to show the budding romance of Belle and the Beast, as afterwards we jump straight to the next scene where we re-enter the castle to find the Beast and Belle in their ballroom attire, with Mrs. Potts and the other enchanted characters singing along to the conclusion of Something There. The curtain closes as the nice moment is interrupted by Gaston and his mob, who can be heard banging on doors and their shadows can be spotted through the windows. We escape the angry mob through a back room where we pass the wardrobe trying to barricade a door where torches and pitchforks can be seen poking through. A lightning strike is heard as we pass the last petal of the enchanted rose falling and enter another room to see Belle mourning a dying beast. As she announces her love for him, the beast begins to rise as the magical dust surrounds him. As the orchestral music swells, the beast transforms into the prince before our very eyes, and the castle begins to revert back to its opulent state before the curse. We pass through several transforming rooms until we enter the ballroom, where we spot Belle and the prince waltzing towards the center. The servants can be spotted around the room, now in their human forms, where the ride comes to a finale with a beautiful rendition of Beauty and the Beast. As we exit the ballroom, we can spot the rose, now restored, and the film's ending hanging behind it in stained glass. Once the attraction is over, you exit back into Fantasyland. But hold on, I know what you're thinking. How on earth does that transformation work? It looks like the Beast literally just disappears, and technically, that's correct. If Disney ever wants something to disappear in an attraction, they look no further than Pepper's Ghost. Made famous for its usage in the Haunted Mansion, Pepper's Ghost involves shining light onto objects in a reflection, which, from the guest perspective, gives the illusion that something is there when it isn't. To achieve the effect that they got in Beauty and the Beast, the glass pane is on a 45-degree angle which slopes downwards towards the guests. The Beast is separate from the scene and is suspended horizontally out of the guest's line of sight. When the Beast begins to transform, they dim the lights on the upper scene and transition that light to the lower scene, where the prince floats down to the ground. He's always there, it's just completely black. You can see that there is a dark void there from the very beginning. Also, the way that they lower the prince down to the floor is fairly simple. They just stick poles through the prince's feet. It's incredible that such an effective illusion is basically just some lights and mirrors. Many guests who have experienced this attraction have labeled it as one of the best dark rides in the last decade. When you compare this to rides such as The Little Mermaid at the Magic Kingdom, it's easy to see why. It's faithful storytelling that hits all the right beats and doesn't gloss over problems that rely on the source material, like what The Little Mermaid does with Ursula's demise. Something that Disney has done cleverly with this attraction is relied a lot on the music available to them. Show scenes such as Something There aren't all that complex, but use the music of the movie to help convey the story and emotions, as well as the character development. Thanks to the dynamic nature of the trackless ride system, we can actually experience these songs in full with proper starts and finishes, unlike most other movie-based dark rides which often need to rely on musical loops. But what are your thoughts on this ride? Do you think it'd be worth a trip to Tokyo? Let us know, we're really interested to find out. From the home of all things theme parks, I'm Dom for ReviewTyme. Thanks for watching, liking, and subscribing. We'll see you next time.